If you're a regular listener to the podcast, you might remember the name Keith Price. He's a local jazz guitarist who's been on the show as a solo artist and with his project, the Keith Price Double Quartet. You might also remember that the Double Quartet's album was actually my favorite local album of 2017. So Keith is one of those guys I'm always happy to have on the show, in whatever context. And this interview is about a show coming up that he's kind of curated. It's an all-star band of local musicians covering one of his favorite albums, a 2002 record by the Cinematic Orchestra. This is a one-time show. It's happening this Friday at the Kennedy, and we talk about that. We talk about some of the other projects Keith has going on, including his role as a producer for the new Apollo Suns record, and a lot more. This episode of the podcast is brought to you by our friends at the Park Theatre. Please visit myparktheatre.com to check out all of the great shows they have coming up.
Thank you to everyone who supports my dad's show. If you'd like to support Witchpolice Radio, go to patreon.com/witchpolice today.
You're listening to Garbage Hill, Winnipeg's first podcast network.
All right, welcome to Witchpolice Radio. I am in a car, which is a little different. As people who listen to the show a lot know, I tend to move around a lot from, coffee shops or basements or jam spaces or cars. So I'm here with someone who's, relatively familiar, I guess, to people who've been listening for a while. Mm-hmm. Keith Price has been on the show twice now, I think.
Yes, this is the third time.
And this is kind of a tight deadline here. You have something coming up very, very soon. That is why we're talking today.
Yes.
So from what I understand, there's kind of like an all-star lineup of local musicians, and there's a big show coming up. So if you want to get into that.
Yeah, well, the show is this Friday at the Kennedy, and we're going to have Aaron Propp on vocals. Ismaila Alpha is going to be doing some vocal spoken word stuff. Myself, Kevin Waters on drums, Jared Beckstead-Cran on bass, and Dallas Ndatiafko from the Double Quartet is on keys. And we're kind of doing a remake of a classic Cinematic Orchestra album every day.
Okay. And this is a group that has played together before, is that right? Or some form of this group?
I don't think so.
No?
We've all played together probably in one way or another, but never this six-piece. No.
Okay.
Yeah, it'll be new.
So how did this come together? And then the follow-up question to that is why this Cinematic Orchestra record?
Yeah, well, it came together like Kelly Hughes is he's back on the scene. He used to promote a lot of great things at Aqua Books. I used to play there and do sound and stuff. So there was a series at Aqua Books some years ago called Jazz Machine, and a bunch of us local musicians did remakes of albums. At that time, I did Yankee Hotel Foxtrot by
cool.
Wilco. And Curtis Nosad, when he lived in town, he did Exodus by Bob Marley. Yeah, exactly. And there's a few other albums. So he said, "Hey, I'm going to be doing some booking at the Kennedy, which is the new
former Low Pub,
exactly."
Yeah.
And he said, "Would you like to do the old show?" And I said, "Yeah. I mean, I of course I'd love to."
Yeah.
And but I said, "You know what? Like as much as I love Wilco, I kind of feel like doing something different." And I've always had this album, in mind as something that like needed further study. Cinematic Orchestra album Every Day is from 2002, and it's still one of my top albums that I listen to. There was a thing on Facebook a year ago or so, like name your top 10 albums, whatever.
Yeah. It was an impossible thing to do, but
it was hard.
Yeah.
But this one definitely made my cut of top 10. And
okay.
Part of, I guess, my personal criteria for a top 10 Desert Island album, or whatever, is that it's got to be distinctive. I really love things that don't sound like other things, and
sure.
This album doesn't sound to me like much else, and it doesn't sound like their other albums either. So it's very unique. I came across the album in 2003. I was 19 years old. I moved to Amsterdam, and I was studying at the Conservatory of Amsterdam there. And my main buddy there, João Driesen, from he's half Dutch and half Surinese.
Okay.
And he had moved back to Holland, or maybe I guess he mostly grew up in London, so he knew about them from London.
Right.
And it was kind of so he said, you got to hear this album, and it just. There's so many cool textures. There's like some of the best recorded upright bass I've ever heard.
Oh, really?
Really interesting drum patterns. And this album like blew me away. Like it just sounded so different than anything I'd heard. It you could classify it perhaps as jazz, but also I think fits into the late 90s, early 2000s kind of drum and bass, kind of trip hop.
All that UK stuff that was happening, right?
It's kind of like it kind of would fit under that umbrella somewhat.
Had the rest of the group that you have together for this show, were they all familiar with the album as well?
No one had heard the album.
Okay. So how do you sell that then? How do you convince them that it's something that they should, cover?
Yeah, well, and to be honest, Kelly was concerned that it's not that well known. But then when you start to ask people, that you find people out of the woodwork, oh, I know that record. Oh, I know that band. As far as we know, Cinematic Orchestra only ever played Winnipeg once, and it was before this album came out.
Okay.
So, I mean, I guess to me, it's a classic album. To a lot of people, they haven't heard it. And so I just said, well, hey guys, check this out. See if you want to be a part of it. Everyone listen to it. There's the part that Ismaila Alpha gets to do is a part that Roots Manuva did.
Oh, cool. Okay.
And when he was, I asked him, and he listened, and he responded, absolutely, I'd love to do this.
Yeah.
And the parts
is he doing the accent?
Ask me after the rehearsal tonight, because I haven't heard it yet.
Okay.
So we'll see. And then Erin Propp is going to be doing the parts that Fontella Bass did, and she's excited about that. And,
cool.
And so it wasn't a hard sell, although it is a little bit obscure. It's a very niche record.
Yeah. Do you think that there's other people out there like you who that record really spoke to that will sort of hear about this and say, whoa, this... Because, the Wilco album, the Bob Marley album, those are big touchstone records, right? And
they're
pretty huge cross-section of people will be a fan of. But this, like you said, this is very niche, so... Yeah,
I'm...
or is it going to be like an empty room and you guys just...
Well...
You hope not, right?
Every gig I play, I don't know if it'll be an empty room or a full room.
Fair enough.
Like when Kelly posted it, Kelly Hughes posted it on Facebook, one of his friends said, oh, I love that record, so... And I guess hopefully we get the word out. I've been trying to post videos of what the record sounds like.
Yeah, I've seen a few of those.
Say hey, this is super unique, and whether you like it or not, this is a great time to hear it for the first time. It's never been played in Winnipeg before.
Right.
And they don't tour, and if they get together, they're not doing this record very much, if they're touring at all. It might be your only chance to hear this music live.
That's cool.
It's probably my only chance to hear this music live.
Right, yeah. So are you, is it pretty true to the original, what you're playing, or is there some room for everyone's individual styles to come out?
Yeah, both. Just like most jazz shows, there's I've written out pretty much the skeleton of the whole album. And then we're going to do our best to kind of be close to it in a lot of places, but then we're also going to just take liberties and stretch out and it'll be very close in a lot of ways, but and then to the record, but to the recording, but in a lot of other details, it'll be open ended, and we'll take solos and we'll extend things. There's a bunch of things on the record I didn't realize were samples.
Okay.
And so we're not
going to be playing live, or are you just skipping those?
Some of them I'm going to imitate. There's samples of Alice Coltrane's harp.
Oh, cool.
That I'm going to kind of imitate. But there's other samples of other vocalists that I don't know if we're going to try to approximate it, or we might kind of do something different. It's gonna there's no way we could recreate it for many different reasons. So it's going to have its own life.
Cool.
At the show for sure.
Are you hoping this is a lead up to doing more of these? I mean, now that you're kind of getting back into the idea of doing one of these albums, is that sort of in the cards, or is that you kind of waiting to see what happens with this one?
I hadn't thought too far. I know that Kelly would like to do it more. Yeah. I think he'd like me to pick something that was more well known and popular. But it was a cool idea. It was a really big hit when we had this series at Aqua Books back in the day. So yeah, I could see it happening. I'm always kind of in the back burner thinking about different records to do and stuff, and then you think, well, I don't know if we can do this justice. And sometimes you don't want to touch a classic record. You don't want to wreck it, or just let it be if you love it, But this one, I really felt like I wanted to study it and really kind of get inside. I've learned so much by writing it out and whatever else. And a bunch of the things that were samples are so seamlessly composed into the music. I had no idea they were samples. It kind of, it blew my mind. Whatever I thought the record was when I first heard it 15 years ago, I realized that it's not what I thought it was. There's not just like little sounds that bites that come out, but there's like whole instruments that are sampled.
How did you discover that those were samples? I mean, if for so long you'd been listening to it and thought it was played live, right?
Yeah, it's so well done. I thought that was just, that's the vibraphone player. But no, it's a Gary Burton from the 1978 ECM record. I don't know. I think I was trying to read more background information, and then I found it on like Who Sampled.
Yeah, that's
and
a cool site.
All that stuff.
Yeah, and
it actually in a way it brought me to tears. Not that, and so I told this to a friend. They said, "Oh, you were disappointed they were samples." I said, No. It's just, it made it more beautiful. It turned out that it was different. It wasn't what I thought it was, and it kind of made me, I don't know, maybe happy to kind of learn that it wasn't just one person's genius or that created this, but they were bringing in samples, and it wasn't old school. It was a new school way of doing jazz improvisation or whatever. So,
improvising with samples, which is kind of a cool way to do it, right? Because
and like, I guess now everyone's going to know that there's samples in there. But try to imagine if you didn't know.
Yeah.
You some things are obvious, but a lot of things, well, unless I'm missing something, I thought they were really.
But that might be a testament to how well the album was made, right? If you can't tell, then
I think so.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah,
that's
for
cool.
Sure.
How much time has this taken you to put together?
Well, it's taken like a bunch of hours. Like, I had to listen to it, and like I took a bunch of notes.
Okay.
And then I like wrote out, and okay, well, how many, they do this thing how many times, and so I kind of wrote out a score. Because we won't have time to like memorize it or anything.
Yeah.
And then I had to kind of go over the score, again. So, like a bunch of days. Okay. Days of work.
Well, and the reason I ask too is because you obviously have your own stuff going on too. I mean, you just before talking to me, you were playing a show, right? I mean, you have enough other things happening that this seems like it would be kind of a significant chunk of time to focus on.
Yes, but everyone else has to do their homework as well in the group.
Sure.
I didn't write out everything. A lot of times it'll say like, here's the drum groove, and then it's up to Kevin to have the drum groove written out. So I'm just writing the skeleton. So yeah, it's taken some time, but I had enough lead up time that I've been kind of pacing myself, and it's also, there's a lot of minimalism on the records. There's like a lot of things that are kind of repeating. It's very hypnotic.
Okay.
Something that I love about it.
Yeah, that's cool.
So it's and like I thought to myself, well, if I'm going to do one of these albums, I better pick something I really love. That way I won't notice the time. So yeah, I guess it's been hours and hours of work, but I haven't really noticed the time.
Well, because you enjoy re-listening to it, and yeah.
I've been loving it.
That's cool. I've
been loving it.
I'm guessing this is a one-off too, right? This show, it's not something. Well, I guess.
Yeah, it's probably one time only.
Yeah.
Unless someone brings it back by popular demand.
Right. Like what you did with the Good, the Bad, and the Ugly.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That there was enough people. I thought that would be one time only, but it came back for a few shows. In Winnipeg and Edmonton, but for now this is one time only.
That's cool. Is it different for you when you're planning for something like this as one time only versus working on your own material that might change and grow over a number of shows? Like, is it a different thought process, or are you still kind of in the same mode you'd normally be in?
I think it's the same. Just knowing that we it's unlikely that we'll get back to it and get to refine it. It's just going to be out there in one shot, and it is what it is. And I guess the mindset, maybe what's different is that you have to just, live with the results.
Yeah.
Not everything will go perfectly because it's the first time.
The first and only time, yeah.
And I'm not going to worry about it because it's just, getting a chance to do this with this group of musicians is, I'm super stoked about it. And if it happens only one time, that's great. And my mindset, I don't know. Yeah. I'm just trying to get it realized. I'm not worried, thinking ahead about how we'll make it better.
yeah, that's true. Sure. You don't need to worry about that. Yeah. Well, and I guess everyone in the group too is fairly adept at improvising anyway, right? So I mean, if something does go weird, I'm sure between the group of you can save it. And get somewhere else.
Yeah. I don't anticipate train wrecks.
Yeah.
And there are some sections that are opened up enough. There's instead of I'm counting it out. And I'm like, well, instead of counting this section 11 times, let's just go open. So that there's times when, and that'll not only help us to execute, but also just to let us be in the moment if we want to play 10 or 11 or 12 runs through one thing. It'll be better to just kind of let it breathe, let it live in the moment.
How many rehearsals do you have time to do before this? It sounds like it's fairly...
There's one rehearsal.
That's it?
Tonight.
Okay.
That's it.
But I guess, like you said, you've already been working on the skeleton of it, and that's already sort of figured out.
Right? I sent them, something last week, and they've been listening to it, already for a month or a month and a half since we nailed down the date. So they'll all be familiar with it, and then it was hard. It was difficult enough. There was a point when I thought we wouldn't even get one rehearsal, but I'm thankful we have one rehearsal.
Yeah. With the whole group.
The whole group's coming tonight to Apollo Sun's Jam Space, and
cool.
we'll more rehearsals would be fine, but at the same time, everyone's been prepping, and the nice thing is that we're doing it on a Monday, so we have time to work out any problems before Friday, and then we can fix anything at the sound check on Friday.
Okay.
But sometimes I feel weird admitting how little time there is to prepare for things, but that's the reality. Well,
and it sounds like there's no time at all, but I guess again, like everyone's got so much experience improvising. That it's almost comes naturally, right? You can just get into it.
Everybody's used to it.
Yeah,
everybody's used to preparing on their own.
Yeah.
I guess if you're married to one band, it's different. You rehearse regularly, multiple times a week and whatever else. But with all of us having, a lot of different projects, we have to accept, different reality, I guess, or just different, time constraints.
Yeah.
So
I think that probably goes with the territory of jazz in general, right?
Totally.
Totally. So you're used to it by now.
Yeah, and there's some things that are cool about that, where it's like, it'd be nice to have the same lineup all the time and have a regular band, but at the same time, just bringing together folks from the community, in different combinations is really nice too.
Yeah. Well, and then you can see what works well, and if some combination works incredibly well, you can use that later on, right?
Of course.
So you can.
Of course.
That's cool. Just to completely change gears here for a second, I know you've been working on a record with Apollo Suns.
Mm-hmm.
Can you just tell me a little bit about that? I'll probably get them on again to talk about it in more detail. But how did you make that connection happen between you and them?
The trumpet player in the band, Phil Collins, him and I are old buddies. And so when it came time for them to make their second record, their first record just won Western Canadian.
It's a good record too, for sure. Yeah,
it is good. Yeah, so he said, Eddie said he was looking for someone to do producer work, and it's kind of they're kind of a jazz sound, but they're also kind of not. And so Phil said, you should maybe meet with Keith, my friend, and see what happens. And so we had some meetings about it, and he hired me on, and it's been a wonderful process. We've really been taking our time from the first meetings we had. Eddie and I, it's been about a whole year.
Okay.
And then we did some recording in February, and then they were on the road all summer, and we've done more recording in September, and 2/3 of the record is already mixed.
That's awesome.
And we're just about ready to sign off on that, and then we have to just finish mixing the last third, and it's great. Like there's people in the band I've said this is one of the most fun recording projects they've ever been on. Our engineer from Paintbox Studios, Lloyd Peterson, he said, boy, these sessions have been a highlight. So cool. There's a lot of really good energy around it. I think the band is just getting better and better and better every time.
Well, they're doing so much touring too. It's got to help, right?
Yeah, exactly. They're playing a lot, and they are growing together. And it's and then people are writing new stuff. We had to have another session because they're like, well, we wrote all this new stuff already on the road, and I'm biased, but it sounds good. It's been a lot of fun working with them, and I think the record will come out probably in the spring sometime.
Okay.
And then they already have a bunch of touring lined up for next year, and up and away, I hope, for Apollo Suns.
Yeah, and I guess you played. Did your group play a couple shows with them?
The double quartet. We did one show with them at the Goodwill.
Was that sort of the first introduction to them for you, or had you already heard them before that?
I had heard them before that because once Ed and I started like talking about
Okay.
making the record, then I went to their shows and
Right.
taking notes.
Yeah,
and stuff.
yeah. And how to record them. Yeah.
Yeah, they were just thinking about like, who are they? What do they sound like? What
Right.
are we going to try to do with this?
Right.
And
I guess then putting together this band for Friday night is complete opposite of that, because you're not recording it. It's strictly a live thing. That whole producer side of things.
Yes, exactly. Well, and like the producer, I guess, I'm still learning a lot about it, but I think I'll always be a student as much as I can. But in one way, it's like everyone in the band takes care of their own parts, and when it comes time to mixing, they're like, "Oh, turn this one up and turn that thing up."
Of course, yeah.
But I guess the advantage of having a producer is that my job is to look at everything, and not be too attached to any one aspect of their music, and try to look at the whole of it.
Right, because you have a level of detachment from it that's not.
Yeah, and I'm exactly. I mean, I can't be fully detached. That would be no good, I think. But there is a level of detachment that is, I think, healthy. Yeah. And sometimes, I say I really think strongly about this thing, and then sometimes they'll be like, you know what, I think you're wrong. Yeah. And that's fine too. I'm cool with that. But it's totally different than being in the music like this Friday, and then but also like Cinematic Orchestra. Like now we're in their music, so it's also different. And trying to write it out and perform it, it's like, I don't know. I'm kind of lost, to be honest. Like not in a bad way, but like I'm kind of consumed by it. Like I don't have any separation. Yeah. Well, and as a longtime fan of it too, right? Like a longtime fan of that music, it's got to be kind of a fun experience to be immersed in it as a player versus just a listener. Right? Yeah. It's amazing. I've been listening to it since 2003. Yeah. And it's 15 years now. Yeah. 15 years. Cool. As the time flies. Yeah. I'm really thankful to have a chance to be swimming in it. Yeah, for sure. Even for just a couple months. So what do you want to just remind everyone of the details of the show? Yeah, it's this Friday, October 26th. Is it 26th on Friday? Sounds right. I don't know. Jeez. I don't have a calendar in front of me. It's a Friday. It's at the Kennedy, which used to be called the Low Pub. Right. I'm pretty sure the cover's $15. Okay. It's an all-star lineup, as Sam said, and it's music that you may never hear live again. Right. And it's fantastic. Some people might know Cinematic Orchestra from like they had Patrick Watson on one of their records recently, more recently, and that was a huge hit. But anyways, it's very unique. It's very hypnotic. It's there's nothing else like it, even in their other catalog. And we start at 8. Okay. And there'll be 2 sets. We'll play half the record, and then we'll take a break, and we'll play the other half of the record. And what is the name of the record again, in case someone wants to look it up? Every Day. Every Day by the Cinematic Orchestra. Cool. And do you have anything else coming up, your own shows that you want to plug, or anything else going on? I know you're busy with this and with the Apollo Sons record and everything else, but... There's nothing... No, not yet. Okay. Making something... There's something I'm going to be making in December with a new group. Okay. But I'll talk to you about that later. More stuff. Sure. And then if people want to find out more about your stuff, I mean, your website's probably the best place to do it still? Yeah. I mean, depending when you hear this, right? KeithPrice.ca, yeah. Although, now that you mention it, I don't know that if I have enough, I better update the website to have all this stuff on there. Stuff about this show, yeah. But I'll do that before the people hear it. Right, so go ahead to... You got a couple days, I will take care of it this afternoon. Okay, awesome. So KeithPrice.ca, and then you're on social media everywhere. Yep, I'm on many of them. Many of them, yeah. There's too many. There's new ones every day, right? I'm on many of them. You're on the big ones. I don't know what the kids like these days. I don't know either. I'm on the Facebook and the Twitter and the Instagram. Yeah. I'm on those too. Any other ones that's kind of over my head. But exactly. Snapchat and stuff, I don't even know. Too old for that. No idea. Yeah, me too. I don't understand it. Okay, awesome. Well, if you want to hear any more episodes of Witchpolice Radio, you can go to witchpolice.com. All 300 and whatever episodes are there for free download and streaming. I think it'll be 326 or something when this comes out. That is awesome. Including the past 2 you were on. So there's from past couple of years, it's like one a year almost. We got like a routine going on. Yeah, the first one was 200 and it was the low 200s. It was 201, I think, yeah. And then the other one was mid 200s, and now we're into the 3s. Man, good for you, man. Thanks, yeah. So yeah, check them out. It's also on UMFM on Sundays at midnight, and those are older episodes getting a second wind. So by the time this one airs on UMFM, the show will be long over. But hopefully you were there, and hopefully you enjoyed it. Maybe they'll be doing another one. I don't know. I'd have to go to the website, I guess, and see what's going on. We will play the show again with if there's high demand. Right on. Of course. Right on. Okay, awesome. Well, thanks again. Thank you, man.